Welcome back to another episode of Life with Lamb. Today I'm here with Kim. Hello.
This is freaking awesome. Hi.
Hello. It's so lovely to see you. Thanks for coming down.
No, thank you, Jaden.
Yeah, amazing. Before we get started, we're trying something a bit different today. We got camera there, and then Kim, you can point to your camera as well. So bit of a setup going on.
Bit of a BTS.
BTS, I know. Well, we're trying to get different camera angles, make it a bit more engaging for the people on YouTube.
Yeah.
But apparently, cameras only record for 30 minutes. So if I get up during the podcast,
A quick switch.
It's just for me to do the video. Hopefully I keep track of time as well. But Kim, how are you going? How are you feeling?
I'm great. Actually, first freaking podcast ever. But it's
Really?
set up so well. I now know what I need to do, to make my own podcast.
Is that what you're thinking? Has that been
Honestly,
something in the works?
Yeah. I sometimes just have conversations with myself in the car or whatever, or at night, and all these thoughts go through your head. I'm like, why didn't I voice record this?
Yeah, exactly. There's all these memes that are always when you talk to yourself and you think you'd make a really awesome podcast.
Yeah.
So it's just that was me. That was me in year 10.
So did this idea start in year 10?
Yeah, year 10, and then just sort of picked it up when uni started and everything. And trying to figure out my why and career trajectory and stuff. So. And that's why we've got you on the pod today.
No, thank you. It's a little passion project.
Yeah, amazing. So I guess who are you? What are you about? Give the listeners a bit of a synopsis about yourself.
Golly, where do I even start? I guess I can start first of all, I am a fitness coach. I've made my business online for the time being. And I just finished my sports science degree at Deakin.
Congrats.
Thank you. I know. Well, actually, I can't say I've graduated yet.
Oh, okay. We're waiting on results.
I haven't gotten results out, so I can't say I'm a sports scientist yet. But I'll say I'm a sports scientist for the purpose.
Hopefully, when the podcast is released,
okay. When the podcast is released, I'll be a sports scientist.
100%. I have every faith in you.
We'll go. So that powerlifter, like yourself. I love your home gym setup.
Yes, thank you.
Pretty cool.
You just walked past it as well.
Yeah.
It's good viewing,
really
I reckon.
fresh.
I'm very grateful for that setup.
Yeah, with the sun streaming in and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they've got to start making more outdoor gyms and stuff.
Oh, I know they have it in America.
Yeah,
and
San
everything.
Diego. I went to
Oh.
one in I think it was San Francisco, San Diego, but it was awesome.
It's just sun, gym, moving your body.
Literally.
It's literally just serotonin boosts everywhere.
So
everywhere
it's
you go.
start streaming.
Exactly.
They do at training day. Oh my god. Yeah.
And what else? I guess.
So in year 12, that's my backstory. I went through an eating disorder, so I just really restrictive mindset. Dug myself into a hole. I guess it was a matter of just controlling any variable I could in year 12, when everything was hectic. So that is sort of I guess my background and my reason for starting my fitness coaching business with the kind of it's I do female fitness coaching, so it's working on holistic mindset, education around nutrition, training, what it takes to have sustainable long life results.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So the kind of thoughts started back when I got out of that. I had an epiphany day. I was talking to a girl that was out Mount Buller, and she sort of said she sort of talked to me about her journey, and it was really resonate with me. And it was at that point the next day I was in the Lululemon change rooms, and I looked at my back and I was like, holy shit, what have I done? And I started scoffing all these bounce balls in my bag in the change rooms into my mouth, and I was like, okay, I am full on set, because at the time I started following all this strength fitness accounts on Instagram, and it was at that clicking point, and I'd been following this girl for a while. It was Kendall Fierce to Fit on Instagram, and she started. I hired her as my coach, and she did a 360 around my mindset, helped me get into the gym, start strength training and whatever. So that's when I got into properly training rather than just doing exercise.
How old were you at the time?
I was 18.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Had you ever considered, I guess, working out and doing those sorts of exercises and going into the gym at that point?
So I was getting up at 6 a.m. every morning in
the
year
grind
12. Set. Yeah. And go to the 6:15 classes, because the gym, Ashburton Pool, was right around the corner from my house. So I would go there for the 6:15 a.m. HIIT classes every morning, and then I proceed to go home and then run to school with my bag on my back and then run home from school. Went back. It was crazy. It was hectic. So that was, and then I, started with like the body pump, the old like Les Mills, like, the classes that they do with like the gym. So that was like, I'd always been into like fitness, probably for the wrong reasons, like back in the day. And yeah, my childhood was very like up and down with like weight fluctuations and stuff like that. So it was only when I got out of like year 12 and hired my first fitness coach that it was like set up for me to actually like make results and like build muscle and learn what it was all about. So that was kind of up until that point. And then I think having Kendall take me through the ropes and stuff like online, I was sort of like, holy shit, one day I want to do this. Like, one day this is what I want to do. But I proceeded to do my Cert 3-4 in fitness in like 2018 because I finished school in 2017. Like, when did you finish school?
2020, I did.
Oh!
What about you? 2018?
2017.
Oh, 17. Okay.
Yeah.
Not too far apart.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah, I guess take us back to day dot. Like, what were you like as a kid? You seem very energetic and obviously very confident as well. Have you always been like that, especially like on social media and everything?
Golly, no. Far out. So I've always been like very extroverted person. Like, very here, there, and everywhere. Just like all over the shop. When I was younger. So I think it starts from my name. So when the reason why I have my name is my dad works at Tut's Lotto at Southland, and he when my mum was pregnant, they were trying to come up with names, and there was this girl apparently running all over the shopping centre like this little kid, and the mum was like, "Get back here, Kimberly," and he was like, "Oh, that's a nice name." Anyway, years later, we're talking 5 years later, they had to have me on a leash because I would run off and talk to people at the other end of shopping centres or go to the other end of the beach, and they were like, "You've never like just stop like running around," and they couldn't they had to.
So did you have those backpacks as well?
Yeah. So on my 21st like birthday poster on Facebook, it's got like one of me like on the beach as a kid and one of me like on the leash with my dad like with me on the leash. I'm pretty sure that's like stuff's like illegal now, but like
yeah, I don't know. I've seen less and less of them. To be honest. I think it's more
more condoned.
Yeah,
I don't think. Yeah.
I just think this new generation. Oh my god, I feel so cringe saying that, but it's like I don't know. I'm 20,
Yeah. Oh, we're old enough.
We're old enough. I think we hand an iPad over, and then it's just like they're glued to that. So then that's like the new backpack, a very expensive backpack, but a bit of an expensive backpack. I think it's probably takes over their mind a bit too. Yeah, but, I guess, did you enjoy school when you were growing up and everything?
Yeah. No, yeah. It was like I moved at weird times. I moved in like year 5. So I went from like primary school to like an all girls. So I started at an all girls like school from year 5 to like the end of year 12. So I was at Sacré-Cœur for like 3 years, and then I moved to Siena in year 8. So I never moved at like the normal times. But I remember like in year 8, I was thrown from like a 3-person like friendship group in year 7 to like a 20-person like friendship group in year 8, and I was so shy. Like I barely spoke throughout like year 8. And then like year 9, I started to sort of branch out a bit. And I think like I truly believe like if you are uncomfortable for a bit, you will learn to like get comfortable in that environment. So you have to like put yourself out there. And I sort of I did not like school in year 8 because I think I was just like closed off and I was really self-conscious, and then from year 9 onwards I just like my confidence grew, and I think by year 12 I was pretty much known as the girl who was always late to class. And that was like my title. Is actually very funny, but yeah, like all the just me just being sporadic. And then I started like I think I started getting more like social media during COVID, actually, probably.
So after you've graduated and everything, or
I was never like I just had like a personal account that I don't use. Like I don't even know where that account is, but and then I made my Seasalt and fitness account in year 8.
Oh, amazing. Oh, wow. So it's been a long fruition.
But I didn't use it properly. Like, I used it at first. I remember my first post was me saying something about, like, Nike shoes. And I had my Nike shoe, like, in the background. It was, like, me, like, running or, like the park, but they were Adidas shoes, so I stuffed up my first post.
Bit of cross branding, it's alright.
Yeah.
The biggest collaboration yet.
Or no, it was New Balance because I thought that was the Nike sign. Okay. Yeah.
It's alright. Yeah. Honest mistake.
Yeah. But then it was all like nutrition posts and it was all like healthy foods and stuff like that, and that was like all into year 12, and then out of high school, I think it was just like a sudden crossover into like fitness, like a back like shot of my back or something, doing a pull up, and then from there it was all fitness. And then I think in COVID I was just kind of bored, and I just started like talking on the camera for the first time, like to my stories. And then it became really fun. So yeah.
Since year 8, like I'm just thinking in year 8 I would have been so scared to just post whatever I wanted on social media. I guess and in an all girls school there's always the stigma of like it's a bit bitchy, it can be a bit like judgmental, and can be a really toxic sort of environment to grow up in. I guess, how did you cope with it, and were there any instances where it got a little bit dire and a bit
for sure. But I was always like that middle person. Like I was always like that, I don't know if you call it peacemaker. But I hated conflict. I think it's more of a matter of being scared of the repercussions of like conflict and stuff. So I was trying to like, see like all sides of the story, not like get to on one side. So by year 12, I had like 3 groups because, all my groups from like year 10, year 11, they split and split.
Yeah.
Because it was always like little like bitchy fights and whatnot. But I don't know how, like, were you at a co-ed school?
I was at a co-ed school, yeah.
Yeah, so how did that differ? Like,
I don't know. I just think, I didn't think much of it, but I just think if I grew up in all boys school, I'm not sure how it would have been a little bit different. Oh, I don't know. I feel like there would have been more fights. More fights or like locker room talk, and I just never enjoyed that,
Yeah, I think in boys schools it's more like physical violence and like
it's just so much testosterone.
Yeah,
I just think it's so backward with like single, especially with the induction of like new genders and everything, and people's sexuality changing and everything.
Confusing.
It can be really confusing for people when you're like, this is an all boys school or an all girls school.
Yeah, but they classify as they and like all this kind of stuff now. Yeah,
exactly. And you sort of have to accommodate for them, even like no matter your views, it can be quite invalidating if you're not going to, I guess, like a co-ed school sort of thing where everyone sort of it just feels very backward.
I think like going to a co-ed school these days would probably be a bit more easy to like adjust to that sort of the new prefixes and all this kind of stuff than just girls and boys schools. But I still see girls and boys schools and have their faults, whereas girls schools are like more like verbal, very passive aggressive sometimes.
We love that. I guess did you see Seasalt going anywhere, or was it just something?
No. My friend was makeup and Wi-Fi on Twitter, and that was like, people were like, where did Seasalt come from? I'm like, well, I thought about what my 2 favorite things were, because hers was makeup and Wi-Fi, and mine was I'm like, I really like the beach, I really like fitness, and I was like, well, that's kind of boring, like beach and fitness. So I was like, Seasalt, and then I think that's how it started.
Seasalt and fitness. Yeah, because I guess I looked at your name and I was like, where could this have come from, But I like that.
I definitely did not picture having, like, the back of my phone case writing Seasalt, or my belt, my powerlifting belt, like, having the words.
Amazing.
But, I think it's, like, people have said, like, that's a cool brand name. So I'm like, okay.
It's very unique.
With it. I think, like, catchy. I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. Bit of a turn with the eating disorder that came in year 12.
Year 12, yeah.
I guess, what were the early signs, and what did they look like?
Yeah, throughout my, like, I guess high school years, I was very much like all in or out, like that mindset of being like, okay, in year 8, I decided to like, because I was very much like so those times where I had like, I struggled more with social, like, environment and, like, moving schools and stuff, I would, like, put on a heap of weight because my coping mechanism was, like, food. And then I got to the point where I was like, oh, no, like, I need to lose weight. Like, it was instant. Like, I remember, like, the end of year 8, I would, like, we went to, like, the movies for the last day. And then when the bell went, I, like, threw the popcorn bag in the bin. I was like, right. And I, like, that entire summer, like, it was just, like, yeah, it was very much all in or out. And I like just like would basically do the same thing that I did in year 12, but maybe not to a greater degree because like I started from like a pretty high body weight in like the end of year, was it 8? Yeah. And yeah, throughout to year 9, and I like lost heap of weight, and then I sort of maintained that until the end of year 12. So the mindset was very much like kind of there, but then I sort of think I took that extra step in like year 12, and it was like, yeah, it was like downhill from there, and people were like really worried about me, and I hated like all the comments like saying like you should eat more, blah blah blah. But I think like that's them like obviously trying to like help you, but you don't always see that when you're in that sort of headspace. So it really is like a control like kind of thing. And then I think I just sort of, yeah, so it was always pretty prevalent like throughout like high school. But
yeah, I can sort of see the pattern of like almost a bouncy ball. Like
yeah.
it's like one end of the spectrum or the other end of the spectrum. There wasn't that sort of in between.
Yeah.
Do you feel that? Oh, I don't want to like tie in education with it, but like, do you think that environment you grew up in encouraged it, or were there other factors?
I think there's always so many factors that can like influence your psychology, but yeah, like childhood, I guess. You know, it's probably like stuff that I don't really realize, but like, you know, just talk in general, like around like about like food and exercise. I don't know if like I don't want to blame my parents or anything, but like, you know how like you sometimes like have your parents like being like more strict around like, oh yeah, like you look like you've gained weight, all this kind of like stuff. And there's probably like all influences all like talk in like primary school of me being a bit chubbier and like,
well, yeah. I grew up in like an Asian household, and they're always going to be like, you're fat or you're skinny.
Oh yeah,
you know. Like, what's your background, and was that some sort of influence there?
Okay, my mom's like almost like an Asian parent. like you were like when I came in the house, you're like, oh yeah, like Asian household, to take off your shoes. I'm like, look, this is my household, like, so, like
I can relate.
Yes, I can relate. Definitely no Asian background, but yeah.
It's like a European or Asian thing. I don't know.
Well, my mom's British.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I know. Yeah. So, but she's like very much like, you know, like rules, like all this kind of stuff. But maybe that's a British thing too. I don't know. My dad's background. My dad's very chill. Like I think I get a lot of my personality from him. He's Hungarian background and Scottish. So I'm glad because I've got kind of like tan skin.
Yeah, you've got some olive skin.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
My sister's like paler than me, and I'm like, she's got the British side. I've got my Hungarian side. I'm not mad.
Fair enough. I guess what role have like your parents played in your life in terms of where you are now, and I guess in high school were they really supportive of you as well? Yeah, I think
huge. Like my dad's kind of like my rock. Like he's been, he's very chill. He's very like. He's also collected, and he's also an entrepreneur. So, like, I think I get a lot of, my personality and the way I think from him. Mum's, like, very strict, so I probably, like, distance myself more from her, but, like, me and my dad are very close. And then, he's running a business too, or two, actually. And I guess I'm running 2 businesses, kind of.
Yeah, you get the entrepreneurial side from him, 100%. Back to the ED, and tying in the parents and everything. Were they aware of what you were doing sort of behind the scenes, or did you keep it very hidden from them?
Well, my dad was at work a lot of my year 12, and my mum was in hospital of my year 12. So I was actually able to get away with probably a lot, like, in my head, and, like, actually, like, enabled me to go down. But my mum's like sometimes make comments like, you should like eat this, like you should eat that, like kind of stuff. But I think like I was saying, when you get sort of into that psychological, those patterns of thought, nothing externally is gonna break that, unless I've sort of realized is if you find someone sort of relatable to you who can like talk to you in a way that's it doesn't feel demeaning.
Yeah.
You know?
Can you describe sort of the thoughts that were going through your head, and then?
Oh yeah. So it was more just a matter of like, eat as little as possible. Wait until I was really hungry to eat. Like, beat myself up for eating. You know, when I like feeling like I was, I guess, at a subconscious level, like eating too much feeling, but it's more like that was like more subjective like thoughts, and I guess like objectively it was probably not a heap, because you only really know what you're used to and like what your habits are. So and then it was just like I could never just be still. I had to like run to the bathroom. I had to like you know run with my bag on my back. I had to do the same like hill run every day like from school, and I had like a bag on my back, and I remember like my mum would like pass me sometimes with my sister in the car, and she'd be like, stop running, like, you know, get in the car, and I'm like, no. So it was very controlling over.
Was that the running thing, was that because you were like, I need to like lose weight?
It was like just to like keep consistent with the amount of like calories I was burning, and I wasn't actually tracking at the time. I think tracking actually really helped me, because that was a control mechanism, but in a different sense. It enabled me to feel safe and trust in having more food. But that was like after. So I have no idea how many like calories or whatever I was having at the time. It was probably very little.
Yeah, and I think, like you say, the subjectiveness of food and how a lot of people, particularly I think females, I don't know, I don't mean to generalize, but I've found that they're always like, oh, I can't eat this because like it'll make me fat.
Yeah, well, I think that's around society and like the ideals that they create in terms of being like, oh, the less weight a female has, the better, like, and whereas males are like, I want to bulk up, I want to put on muscle, how much can you lift, bro? Blah. Yeah. So now it's kind of like, I love that it's changing, but also the fact that I guess we're in the powerlifting space.
That's true. So we're surrounded by people who are educated on it. And is that something that you want to take Seasalt out and like expand in that region and educate, I guess, women who don't necessarily understand how to count calories or like what's in my food and why my weight is fluctuating and those sorts of things? Yeah,
absolutely. I think females, like, it's easy for us to look and see like, oh, things are changing and whatnot. But then I talk to people who are not in the space, who might just be regular gym goers, because I do also work out of a gym sometimes doing classes, like high intensity interval training classes, and I talk to some of them who have these misconceptions, or are like, what is the exercise to lose fat, or what is this and that. I'm like, wow, like there is a lot of need for this, and also a lot of need for females to understand that it's very context dependent on them. Like, I think
100%, and I think females are so hormonal. So
that too.
Looking at like a number on the scale is completely different to what's actually happening like on the inside of your body. Like,
at a physiological level, like education I think is like at the forefront, but it's also easier sort of to be educated and look at someone else and say something rather than sort of take it on your own accord, because obviously like it's kind of like the whole like psychology thing where it's like psychologists can help others but they can't help themselves. Like it's kind of like that whole
100%
thing. So
and I think linking back, sorry to cut you
off. No,
I
just go on a trail.
And you talk about external factors and people being a bit more controlling and saying, oh, you should eat this, eat that during your ED stage. When was it sort of a turning point, and what did you find to be the best way for you to snap out of that trance of like, I need to eat less?
Oh, right. Having a coach, really, because like, what you mean, like when I had already sort of had that like epiphany and was like, I want to like put on like muscle, I want to
what led to that, I guess?
It was like, I can name a few moments in my life where I've had just like sudden like turning points, and it's just been like, all right, I'm in, like, kind of thing. And I think that was like when I had talked, because I was at Mount Buller, so I ski like a few, like I'll ski, like I think I was skiing with my dad that year, and and the last day I was at the gym at Mount Buller, and after the lady who was at the reception spoke to me about her journey, and I still keep in contact with her from time to time, she sort of talked to me, and my dad was like, oh yeah, can you like tell her, because my dad was picking me up, and she was just like talking to me about her journey, and I saw her before and afters, and I was like, whoa, like, what did you do to get there? And she was like, I ate more and I lifted weights, and I was like, whoa. And then I think I spoke to someone who was like, oh yeah, I don't do cardio, I just like lift weights. And I'm like, whoa, like you don't have to do cardio and you look like that.
Blown.
I'm like, how do I get like that? And then I think I felt like I started to feel more empowered, like actually lifting weights and more confident in what I was doing. I did have a bit of a background in like lifting, obviously not lifting with great technique, but lifting. And I never really, I guess there were times, there's always times where you're like, oh yeah, I probably like thought, oh, maybe I shouldn't be eating as much, whatever. But I think because I was tracking, because I was following like protocols and stuff, I trusted in the people like that were guiding me. So I didn't really have like many like, I didn't really bounce back or anything like that. So. And
how important do you think is it to have a team surrounding you, or having someone and a point of reference during times of you being so vulnerable?
Like, absolutely. Like, imagine, yeah, I don't think I could have done it on my own. Like, having someone to guide you and keep you accountable. I'm not sure I understand. Thanks, Siri. Thank you.
Siri makes an appearance.
Always. Yeah, having someone to guide you, but also like understanding like as a human race, like we like rely on other people, you know, and we should be able to, you know, reach out to others. And they always say like coaches have coaches, like I have a business coach like at the moment, like, and just to help you have trust and give you direction. It's like, it's huge.
Yeah, so, amazing. I guess, and looking back on the ED and the period of time that you went through that, what's one piece of advice that you'd give yourself looking back on it?
I think like just sort of I think if I was my younger self, I'd be like, there is so much potential for you to be like strong and empowered and confident in yourself and feel like, you know, you've got this, and just to not be so hard on yourself, because there's so much potential once you get over those sort of thoughts, and start to feel empowered in yourself. But not only that, I think and once you get out of that, it's like there is so much more beyond like a number on the scale or what you've had to eat that day or the night before, and like getting hung up on yourself, because the body is very like complex, and we don't like, if you don't know what's happening at a physiological level, it can be so easy to like, our brain is our biggest, like, I would say like our psychology is a huge impact on how we view ourselves. But
I think we're our own worst critique and our own worst nemesis, to be honest. I think the thoughts that we can produce in our heads can be so like powerful in a positive way, but also in a negative way.
Yeah.
And it's really scary to see what the brain can sort of lead us into. But I'm glad you're sort of out of it. I guess as I'm hearing about your story, all I can think about is like how resilient you would have been, and like how amazing that quality is. And she's got it tattooed on her arm, which is amazing. I guess, can you tell me what resilience means to you? And while you're doing that, I'm going to change the cameras.
Yeah, yes.
Go ahead.
All right, yeah. So, I think it was February this year. The coach that I was talking about, my first fitness coach, she got resilience written on her arm, and I was like, holy shit, yes. Because there has been so many times in my life where I feel like I've bounced back from certain situations, obviously specifically my ED, but I got a wave with the word resilience sort of underneath the wave in February. So it's like written in calligraphy, and then I got on my ankle, I got everything happens for a reason in calligraphy. So I guess you could say they're kind of spiritual, like that kind of vibe, but I think like if I didn't have my ED, I would not be in the situation I might not be, you know, creating my own business around like wanting to empower and help females, even like females that, you know, aren't in that like really dire mindset, you know, just females in general, because I feel like there's always areas for growth, and there's always misconceptions or, you know, education that can evolve from any female's mindset. Like, I mean, males too, but I guess, yeah.
Speaks true to you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the fact that you have it tatted, or like, even if people, I don't know, aren't allowed tattoos, like writing a little note on your arm and just like looking down at it each day and remembering like where you came from. And I love, as cliche as like everything happens for a reason is, I think it's such a true quote, and it speaks out to a lot of people. Like, things happen for a reason, and whether it be good or bad, I think like, I'm a firm believer in like karma and like energy in the world. I don't know if you're like in the spiritual realm at all.
Like, I love like the whole like things like energy attracts energy.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah. Obviously, the energy you produce, like in terms of like your confidence and your vibrancy, attracts other people with the same qualities, and that.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously my life hasn't been like all up, you know, like I've had my ups and I've had my downs as well. And I think, things do happen for a reason, and the energy that you put out into the world sort of bounces back to you, to be honest. I'm definitely so grateful for meeting you and putting myself out there and delving into the powerlifting community and everything. But I'm a firm believer in like energy and everything. I guess, what are some strategies that you've learned over the years in terms of like building resilience, or when you're in times of like negative self-image or negative thoughts, like how do you sort of cope with it now?
I think sort of thinking about like, what do you need in this very moment? What are some people you can reach out to? Where, I mean, there's always like the education, but then there's also like sort of feeling through and navigating through like what you need at the time to sort of feel better about yourself. And sometimes, we need to do that personal development work in order to grow in like other areas. So reminding yourself that being resilient is about sort of just navigating through what you're going through at the moment, reaching out for help, and then there will always be like another side of it that you can sort of be like, look back and be like, oh, like, you know, where I've come from. And I guess on that whole everything happens for a reason note, it's kind of like your perception of what has come out of what you've been through. If you can take like something positive away from it, like a matter of like growth in yourself. Say, for example, if you're going through like a relationship, like a breakup or something like that, like thinking how that person has grown you, what they did give you, sort of similar like to my India, sort of like what it sort of gave me, like in terms of being resilient. I think a lot of people who have been through situations like that have a lot more growth in themselves and are able to see sort of things in other people, or have some sort of a type of toughness in themselves.
It's funny that you say that. Like, I think in terms of breakups and everything, it's sad you miss this person and what they gave you, but what did they give you, and what can you take from that into your new relationship? Like, or obviously there's time to heal, and there's a healing process that
you've got to
goes
feel
alongside
through
it.
Like everything that you're
you're not
through.
just gonna break up with someone and be like,
oh, it's
okay,
fine,
cool, awesome, I'll just take
I've got growth from this, you know.
Exactly.
But it all like plays into each other. Like anything that we're sort of going through, there's always something to like learn from it. Like if that never happened, you wouldn't have grown from that. Be able to see what qualities you do see in someone, like that you do think you deserve in someone else to like give you, and
that's it. I wanted to ask, because obviously you and I were in like the powerlifting scene, and going to the gym is like a sort of a second nature, you know, like we just do it.
Oh yeah, it's just like
we
habitual.
Just go into the gym, do your sets, do your reps like on the machine or whatnot. I saw you rocking your shit at Emerge Gym last night. You were having
some gym hopping.
So yeah, literally, I'm literally the biggest gym whore as well, so I can totally relate.
Venture outside of your little home.
Yeah, literally. I got the home gym, you know, go to training day, Emerge. I guess for a lot of females out there where they're less confident and really can be really scared and less inclined to sort of set foot into the gym, and it can be a really tough and daunting experience. What are some tips from yourself? I guess like you have this Seasalt and fitness account and you're doing all the coaching and well-being initiatives. What are some tips and pointers that you would give to, I guess, maybe your younger self or some females out there who are feeling a little bit scared or not really comfortable in that environment?
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, like yourself, like we're all there to sort of grow ourselves and just see beyond like the metal that we're lifting. It's kind of like, it's a space where we can just like focus on ourselves and getting stronger, feeling more empowered in what we can do. And like females who can't see that yet, by just going in the gym space and being like, everyone is there working on themselves. It's just starting small. Like obviously, like we can't go from like point A to point Z in like a day, but you know, just finding little things that we can do, whether that's just like working on the machines, asking for like help from a supervisor or whoever's on the gym floor. Following accounts where females are strong and empowered and in the gym lifting weights and saying that it isn't as scary as it feels like it will be. That's a huge thing. So like a lot of stuff I talk about on my stories is just like how to just feel more confident in yourself and talk to other people with similar like experiences, going into the gym or going with a friend, you know, like that always
big
helps.
Point, that one. Yeah, that one's
like,
a really good point.
Your community, I was actually just talking about this a while ago. Your community sort of shapes, because we're used to having like friends. Now we have friends in like the powerlifting space, right? But we didn't once.
Yeah, I had no clue who you were.
Yeah. Like once upon a time, like we just like started out in like a regular gym environment. Did you start out in a commercial gym?
I did, yeah. I went with a mate to the old Burundara Sports Complex, so like one of the little recreation centres. Yeah, exactly.
I used to work at the Ashburn one.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, that was my OG gym.
Yeah. No, it was good fun.
Yeah. No, I think I signed my sister up to that one.
Oh, amazing! Look at you, great worker. I think I was really like fortunate enough to have mum who's already a PT. And in the fitness space. Awesome. She really introduced me into, I guess, the fundamentals of things. She enrolled me in a gym called Workshop, and from there they taught me like all the basics, like how to squat, how to bench,
like all the movement
patterns, and I'm so grateful for that. And I think,
awesome. Especially from a safety mechanism.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, just knowing what you're doing.
Yeah, I think like the injuries that I've had haven't been, I guess, form related. It's been more like fatigue and sort of just overworking the muscle, which is probably a better way to injure yourself than snapping back into. Yeah, if there's any good way to injure yourself, it's like if there's any way I'd want to injure myself, it would not be form, because that, I don't know, that stuff can just really
tax yourself, especially like, you know, lumbar, spine and rotator cuff injuries, and
it's something that I really pride myself in. And I think like if I were to give a point out there, it'd probably be like sign yourself up with a PT or have a coach or have someone there to really nitpick, because as soon as you have a really solid foundation, I think that's where like you really start to blossom and really grow and see fruition.
And I think like your ego can inhibit you a lot, like in terms of being like, oh, I think I know how to do this. Like I can lift, like, you know, just keep trying to lift heavier and heavier. Like it usually doesn't lead anywhere good. I know that I used to do like quarter reps of squats and whatnot with an anterior pelvic tilt.
We all did.
The classic anterior pelvic tilt, you know, rounding love the spine.
Yeah. And I think like ego works both ways as well. It's like sometimes you might not have the confidence to set foot in the gym. Or sit on the machine and you're just like, well, what do I do now? And then you sort of hop off it because you're like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. Well, if you don't have a
plan, like kind of, I think a lot of people are going to the gym and they're
so
just like,
true.
Do whatever. I'm like, but they don't actually have a plan, and like without a plan, like you're not set up for success. Like,
exactly. I think that's a huge point. Like having at least a clear goal in mind. Oh, something's ringing.
It's freaking on.
I think having a clear goal, whether it be like your sets and reps or like what exercises you want to do, having a really proper schedule, and direction, even from like a bigger external view as well. Like if you have direction in your life, I think you can achieve so many more things.
Absolutely.
It's like something
filtrates into so many areas of your life. Like once you start in the gym and you know that you're getting results, and you're following off a plan, it like filtrates into other areas of your life where you feel
100%.
like you know what you're doing, you're more empowered, you feel like more in control of that area of your life, and then you go and you feel confident in other areas of life.
Yeah, and like I can hear I can sort of think what other listeners are thinking right now, and they're like, oh, they're literally talking about like the gym, you know? But I think the fact that you set routine in your life and direction in like a small workout can lead into routine and direction in, I guess, a career trajectory sense as well, which is so important. And I think, it's gym, but it can also translate into other things. And maybe your hobby might not be gym. It might be, I don't know, like arts and crafts and those sorts of things. Like, oh, I'm going to set aside this hour to do some reading. Yeah. And then that's like knowledge. And
it comes back into that self-development and empowerment and resilience, like we're saying.
Yeah.
It's
all making sense.
Any area of your life, you know? So just like bouncing back out of situations and being like, I've got this, like, but that might have stemmed from like just being in the gym and having a trajectory and having a plan that you can progressively overload on. And
100%.
Like seeing results and then being more confident in yourself, and then that translates to, I mean, probably me being able to like talk on my story, being able to be, I don't know, on a podcast like this, you know, like,
Yeah, amazing. I can see like when you talk about health and fitness, like it truly lights you up. Like I can see it in your eyes, and even the way you're talking, like it gets louder and like there's more energy around it. Has it always been like that for you? Like from high school, have you always been like, yes, I want to go into the personal training scene and stuff? Like what?
No, I wanted to be a dietitian in year 9. That's when I started really trying at school because I really wanted to be a dietitian. And I remember like before that, I didn't really care as much about school, but in year 9, like I full on like threw myself into like, trying to do really well in classes and stuff like that.
What introduced you to like dietitian and why that realm?
Oh, because like when I went through my like that sort of weight loss cycle in like year 8, seems so early now that I look back and I'm like, oh my god, year 8's like going like full ham and like running and diet. I'm like, oh god. But back then, and then I started really liking eating healthy. I was like, you know, I've always had the idea that I never want to work like a typical 9 to 5. Like I get bored pretty easily, so I like different things. Like
I love that,
and I can definitely say that no day is the same for me. But so I got into really healthy eating. I was like, oh yeah, like, you know, dietitian sounds really good. So so I've always like sort of gone for like what I'm really passionate about at the time. And then when I got out of my ED in year 12, I was like, no, I really like the whole gym environment. And then did my PT certs, and one of my friends at the time was doing sports science, and I was like, okay, I'll because I was already enrolled into dietetics at Monash. I was like, oh well, I'll go to Deakin and do exercise and sports science. So that's when I started my degree in 2019. What was the original question?
I was just like, I guess what was your career pathway looking like? And it seems it wasn't like a clear, yes, this is what I want to do. And I can completely relate with I don't want to work a 9 to 5 like under someone else. I really want to do something for myself, grow something, and that's why I do the podcast and have these little side hustle little passion projects. And I really want to have a fat summer this coming summer as well.
Just freaking grind. I know you were like, oh, I want someone else on your team eventually. I actually saw your story and I was like, oh, But I know, like, also I kind of want to create a podcast.
Do your own? Like, we'll be competitive now.
I know. It would be very much around like fitness and like sports science topics and the mindset side of things. But I think like my view on fitness was very just like, it was kind of just bland back in the day. It was just like, oh yeah, I'll exercise in the gym, I'll do a few classes here and there, but it was never like to the point where I was like, now when I think about training and nutrition, it's very like dynamic, and it's there's so many areas like from a physiological standpoint, from biomechanics, how you move, progressive overload, then there's the nutrition side and monitoring, like, the mindset side of things, education around, what goes into building up your body composition. And like, it gets like, you can say it gets like complex, but then sometimes I say that social media makes it feel very overstimulating, very overwhelming in terms of, but yeah, it's kind of which side that you're coming from and the person's current psychology and how they view their goals and what they're struggling with. And
yeah. I guess in the form that you filled out, you described yourself as like a holistic health coach.
Yeah, I've got to actually be careful how I use that now, because I had this girl say to me, I'm now like coaching her, but I think at the start she was like, oh, I'm not like spiritual and all that. And I'm like, no, that's not what I mean by holistic.
What does it mean? What does holistic health coaching mean? Because I guess I'm used to like your personal trainer or I don't know, your trainer. Those are the only things that I'm sort of used to. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess someone who's like there in every avenue of your life. So who's like your number one hype woman, who's like your PT, but not just that, like looking at how you move in your body mechanics and areas that you want to venture into, like looking long term, looking at your mindset, how you currently food and exercise and training, and yeah, just like all avenues, and be able to like week to week help you rather than just in that one session. Because I was an in-person PT at the Kooyong Tennis Club for like 3-4 years. I'm literally going to take this Apple Watch off. So I was an in-person PT for 3-4 years. And I just found that it wasn't giving me much fulfillment, because I was just in the gym with them, giving them their session like once or twice a week. But where's the actual results if they're only knowing that they're having a session once or twice a week? They're still going about their lives in the same way. They're still viewing food and how they view like, their way of going about.
So would you say it's like a life coach? That's some like sort of that avenue.
Yeah.
I
Whenever
think that's
I try to describe like what I do, I'm like, I think on my bio, I'm like, body recomp and mindset coach or something like that. So yeah, kind of like a life coach, but with more of an emphasis on like fitnessing your goals around the gym.
100%.
Yeah, because I'm very big on psychology and like how it like it's how.
Is that something that you've studied, or is that just like something that's come across as you've delved into it?
I've done some units, but I guess with all my life experience, I'm 23, but like, I guess with what I've been through, and I love like, personal development, reading into psychology, talking with people about it. For example, like looking into avenues like attachment styles and all this like kind of stuff that influence how we think and how we behave, like who we are now in this day and age. That's huge. So I'm not a psychologist, but I like to think that
you're a student of psychology, or like you're
a lifelong student of personal development and psychology. So I've done a few subjects in uni, but I think practical is usually your biggest asset. So I see people coming out of like sports science now. Some of my friends even ask me questions about, they've just finished sports science and they're asking me questions about how to go about their PT sessions. And you can, like, I can see that it's very much theoretical. And in a practical setting, it's never the same as like textbook.
Oh, no
like,
way.
Context to context, person to person. I'm like, look, like, you can't just like focus on like the ramp warm-ups and like that's like kind of stuff we learned in sports science. Like, look at them on a personal level, like just like freaking warm them up like in a session. Like that's, you know, that's an example. But yeah, it's like, yeah, when in a practical setting, it's always going to be person to person, case to case.
Yeah. I guess how important have you found it to be to not have this like one size fits all program for your clients or just clients in general?
Yeah, so like huge. Like I think that's like the one thing. I think that's like one of the things I harp on the most, because so many people are like, oh, how does this like, what does this mean? Like they, you know, hear something on socials or something, like take it as gospel into themselves. But everyone is so unique at such different points of life, like different training ages, different mindsets, different. Oh, everything's different, like person to person, like.
And I wanted to get into this because I think social media plays a huge part in it, and the access to information that we have these days is just by a click of a finger. It's shoved up
just
to you.
Google everything.
Yeah,
like.
or it just appears on like a For You page or something, and the algorithms detect like what you're sort of looking at. I guess
even when you just like speak into the phone, it freaking shows up with like whatever you've been talking about the day before.
It's so scary. I guess what are some strategies that you have, or any pointers in terms of like navigating the content that you choose to indulge in and choose to garner like knowledge and wisdom from?
Something I always say is like content that makes you feel good and inspired after you've actually like scrolled through your For You page, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or whatever. That's the kind of content you want to keep following. Anything that makes you like question things, makes you feel really uncomfortable, like down once you've like finished, like, you know, like you've got to unfollow some pages. And then when it comes to Googling things that you're not sure about, because everything's so context dependent for you, I just don't recommend it, full stop. Some things are valid, but then again, I can't tell you if your thing's valid unless like we have an in-depth conversation about what you're going through.
This is true. I think like the point I'm trying to make as well is, I guess, don't take what you see on social media as like the gospel.
Oh, absolutely.
As well. And
yeah. Well, it can be both overwhelming and like not telling you enough. Yeah. At the same time.
Exactly. I think we live like in a world where short form content like TikTok can be so like, it can be empowering, but it can be so dangerous as well, because what is a 30-second clip going to tell you about your deadlift mechanics?
Literally.
Or what you have to eat in a day? And because that's being pushed out to millions of people as well.
Oh, the what I eat in a day is fuel me up. Oh my God.
Yeah. I think like finding what works for you is so important in terms of like what you eat and being able to track it, because what someone eats in a day can be completely different to what you might need and the macros and everything that you might need. And I think it's so toxic, the social media. And I get it. People are trying to put out their information and trying to better other people as well.
They're only like doing that to sort of just have content out there. Like there's no like coolness or whatever you call it, like to what they're doing. They're not intentionally presenting information that's going to like get into your headspace and like make you feel like you need to eat this and this. But as a result, especially influencers who are really big on socials, they can't control for that. So when it happens in people who are like just watching the what I eat in a day and taking that and being like, oh, I've got to eat this and this, or this is how much they ate, let's like see, or I don't know, I see, I think I used to watch YouTube a lot. I don't really watch it, like I don't really watch it anymore, but it was always that kind of content, just like Zach Perner, I don't know, like what have you.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's so many impressionable like young kids who are on TikTok and on Instagram scrolling, and then there's just so many sort of sources and
so many nuance
and just different ways of doing things. And I agree with the point of, like, find something that makes you happy and makes you feel inspired. But at the same time, sometimes that can be really misconstrued as well, because you don't know if the person's like
so
on
complex.
roids or
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think a message that I want to put out is like, just be careful with what you're consuming and like the things that you're sort of watching and surrounding yourself with as well.
And then, I'd also say just, like, sort of if you are questioning stuff, like, maybe talk to someone who is more educated on the topic in person. Or, just understanding that everyone is different. Everyone has different needs, and the people putting out content aren't doing it to make people feel in any sort of way. They're just doing it because that's like, well, it's probably part of their job, or it's just like what content they like to produce, but
they need to make money as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really hard to control for all those variables, but definitely like how it makes you feel like after you've watched it, and seeking out actual like advice or scientifically backed information.
Yeah, exactly. You always want to check your sources. Is probably
absolutely.
the main point. Because you're very much on like creating content at the moment. I see you pop out with all the reels and everything.
Oh no, that's always fun. It's always
good fun. Yeah, I guess. What's next for you, like in the future and everything?
I'd love to create a podcast.
You'd love to Seasalt podcast.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Then another camera change.
Yeah, another camera change.
I love it. The Seasalt pod. I don't know. Got to come up with a name. But
I like that though.
Yeah. Pod of Seasalt. pod of Seasalt. That, and then I think like just continuing to generate content, continuing like I just launched my website. Coming up with like free resources there.
Where can people find you? I'll give you a chance to plug. It'll be in the show notes as well.
Put up my link. Seasalt and Fitness on Instagram, or my link in my bio has like an intro video of me at the moment, my website, seasaltandfitnesscoaching.com, and then how to like sign up and inquire with me. Yeah. So that's all my hashtags, what do they call it when you like
all the links or all the what do you mean?
It'll come to my head.
So we're still learning how to become influencers, you know.
One step at a time.
Literally. I guess in terms of like going to the gym, do you have any final remarks or anything? I think like a lot of females can really benefit from another female who's a bit more tenured in the gym environment, to sort of end on a note that's really powerful and might inspire a few people to take that step into the gym and seek help as well.
Just imagine how much potential there is for you if one day you can be a powerlifter. I think like imagine like, or like just, you know, just lifting really heavy weight with really good technique and feeling really strong in yourself.
Big booty.
Big glutes, big lats. Have that Dorito shape, you know, and that all comes from like, honestly, like lifting weights, being on a progressive program. There's probably more to lifting weights. If you haven't started in the gym, you got so much potential to build muscle, especially, you know, newbie gains, talk about it.
And I think just mental clarity as well.
Mental clarity, discovering yourself, is huge. Like, I think there are like reels at the moment that are saying like, you know, people who go to the gym like aren't vain. They're like actually like the people like are really working on themselves, like great communities. And like I always say, like your environment is like huge in your daily habits and hobbies and how you view like normality in your life.
And I think the gym is like an environment where people are going there to try and better themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
It shouldn't be viewed as a place where people are there to judge you for like how you look or where you've come from or like how skinny you are or how big you are.
And like also like some of the biggest guys are the biggest teddy bears too.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Now, like I think like some girls like like see like really big jacked guys and they're like, oh, like scary, but like, oh god, like I know some of the greatest guys who are like.
And you'll find the people that are sort of like the more judgmental ones to be the ones that are lacking in progress and empathy as well.
Or
and
like they'll say like your insecurities like really show when on how you view other people and the areas that you judge in, and so a lot of the times they seep out in ways like that.
100%. I think it's thank you, Kim. Like it's been really good learning about how powerful you can feel as a female in the gym, because I think it's such a like unspoken sort of topic, and
especially when you're surrounded by like-minded females, like you don't know any different, right? So when you start talking to females who are in that space and stuff like that, you're like, oh wow, like there is like, it's like another world. Like it's freaking like
exactly. And I think we're so desensitized to it because we're already in it.
Exactly.
And I think the like the importance of gym, a lot of people really take the piss out of and say, oh yeah, you're so vain, like who cares about like your biceps or your triceps and stuff. And it's probably not that. Like yes, it's awesome, it's an awesome side benefit, but I think the mental clarity and the confidence that you can get from the gym is awesome. The results
are absolutely a side, just a production of you bettering yourself and you wanting to like better your mindset, have some mental clarity in the gym, like feel more empowered in yourself. Like a lot of people who say, I want to lose like X kilos or X amount of weight, probably don't realize like at the end of the day, a lot of the times that's actually not their goals down in the future once they get into the gym, once they discover like building muscle and how that plays a role in actual like weight as a metric. Like that's just the amount of gravity that is pulling you towards the ground at any one time. So, and usually at the end of the day, they realize that that's not their end goal anymore. It's like to be stronger and to like be more jacked, or, but as a repercussion, then they like feel stronger and more empowered in themselves. And then it doesn't even matter anymore to them. Like a lot of the time, that's just what happens.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kim.
Nice.
It's been a great chat.
Jaden. Awesome.
I guess people can find you in the show notes, and I hope they really reach out and chat to you because I think you're such a model of excellence in terms of like the gym, and I think you're promoting a really positive image into the space of gym etiquette and like being a female and going to the gym and women empowerment as well. And I think it's such an important topic that needs to be addressed. I think long gone are the days of like, oh, big macho man in the gym sort of thing. And I
love seeing all the guys in like the treadmill these days and the girls like in the weights area. I'm like, this is awesome.
I know. It makes me happy seeing like more girls going to the gym and like doing weights and lifting weights as well, because
the stigmas are really like
and I think the community that you can build is so amazing, and like you're a testament to it as well, because I don't know, like we've become friends and we've done a podcast over it. How good is that? Be sure to follow at Life with Lamb Podcast on Instagram. And hopefully, thank you very much. And I hope these cameras worked, and we'll see how we go with editing them. But until next time.
It'll be interesting to see it all come together. Thanks so much, Jen.
No worries.
See ya.
Bye-bye.